Again, it's a dark tale, and it is literally the complexities of loving a murderous joyrider. The headlights flickered somewhere in the distance. Compulsion takes over. There's no time for resistance. He takes his stance upon the old highway, beats pulsing through his body as he stalks unknown prey. He knows what he's about to do is a cataclysmic crime, but no longer does he have control from the fury deep inside. He wishes he could look away, just like he tells his girl, but the beast just grows inside of him, the oyster to his pearl. The flash of lights draws closer as he walks into its path, and a coolness now takes over to disguise his fiery wrath. He's been here many times before, he's seen this act play out. His timing's a perfection, no concessions left for doubt. The only thing that troubles him inside his darkened mind is the sense that she feels so let down and all he leaves behind. As eventually when he makes it home, she'll ignore his coloured clothes, but he knows that he will hurt her too on the old highway that he roams. A car of two approaches him, a Ford Cortina brown, just the kind he likes to drive, who flags the passers down. His unsuspecting victims are an old man and his wife, whilst winding down their window are confronted with his knife. No time for screams or begging, or just take the car, they plead. The silver lightning strikes them, and with burning flames they bleed. He drags their bodies out the door, rolls them in a ditch. A smile spreads wide upon his face, another triumph without a hitch. And with his foot pressed to the pedal, the engine starts to roar, and in his Ford Cortina out on the old highway he tore. He felt exhilaration as the wind whipped through his hair, cruising at the red line without a single care. No regard for lives he'd stolen or the families left to cry. Those thoughts would come to haunt him as the time would pass on by. It was just about this moment and the freedom that he found, as no longer would he feel that when he journeyed homeward. He'd feel a sense of sadness, guilt mixed with the pain, that the promises he'd made his girl had always been in vain. But this time it was different, it really was his last. The feds were catching up with him and the shadows of his past. As every time the door knocked or the chime rang from the bell, he knew his freedom could be taken inside a tiny cell. So he pulled into a clearing, and with a cloth he cleaned the marks. He had to make it home before the sun rose from the dark. He struck a single tiny match, danced amongst the flames, inferno set to banish all his demons filled with shame. He'd go back with dark conscience clear of promises anew, to see his girl and tell her all, inside excitement grew. Now she was sat there waiting at the bottom of the stairs. To expect that she should look away was anything but fair. She knew what he'd been doing. She knew when he'd be back. She couldn't take it anymore, so a suitcase she had packed. If only it was different. If only he could change, but he'd hurt her one too many times with his behaviour so deranged. To think of all those people that he didn't need to kill, for the pleasure of a joyride that would give him such a thrill. She'd never begin to understand his sense of satisfaction, so with a sudden heavy heart, it was time to take some action. Finally he made it home and came up towards the house. She picked the shining object up and sat quietly as a mouse. He turned the key inside the lock, walked on through the door. She looked him point blank in the face, then shot him to the floor. A sea of red surrounded him as he drew his final breath, and a devilish smile took over as she watched him to his death. Now she'd become the monster, and he had been set free. She dragged his body in the boot, in the ignition she placed the key. She'd take this final journey, never again would look away, to finish all that he'd begun out on the old highway. Thank you.